Hello everybody and welcome back to the Data Playbook. We finished the Week 15 Sunday games, so all we have left is Monday Night Football, which is Miami at Pittsburg, so let's get into the data. Starting off with your team totals and the game information, with Pittsburgh favored on the money line with a spread of 3 points and a total line of 42.5. So now we'll just switch over to the averages for the season and look through the rankings, where you have Miami with a bit of a mixed offense with a scoring rank of 21, a passing rank of 27, their best ranking of a rank of 7 at rushing, and then a tight end rank of 28. Defensively, it's a little bit more consistent, but about average to below average, with an allowed scoring rank of 14, allowed passing rank of 14, allowed rushing rank of 30, and an allowed tight end rank of 29. With Pittsburgh, you have a mix to a little bit lower average offense with a scoring rank of 12, a passing rank of 19, a rushing rank of 28, and a tight end rank of 6. And defensively, it's definitely below average with an allowed scoring rank of 20, allowed passing rank of 30, allowed rushing rank of 24, and an allowed tight end rank of 26. Starting our individual data with the quarterbacks, you have Tua Tagovailoa and Aaron Rodgers, with Tua averaging 11.1 fantasy points per game, and Rodgers averaging about 14.1. Here's your player seasonal averages, and looking at the turnovers, you have Tua with 14 interceptions this season, and 1 fumble lost due to a sack, and then you have Rodgers with 7 interceptions this season, and 1 fumble lost due to a sack. Looking at how they impact the rushing game, both quarterbacks don't do a lot of rushing on their own, so you have Tua with about 5.8% of the rushing carry share, and you can't quite see this one, but it's going to be even less than 5% here, so probably about 3% of the rushing yard share. And similar story for Aaron Rodgers at 6% of the rushing carry share, and probably about 2 to 3% of the rushing yard share. Moving into the running backs, you have Devon Achane and Jaylen Warren, with Achane averaging 20.9 fantasy points per game, and Warren averaging about 13.2. Once again, moving over to their averages, and with no turnovers, we're going to go straight to the charts. So if you want to look at more of this information in detail, go ahead and pause the video. But getting into their share, you have Achane with about 60% of the rushing carry share and almost 70% of the rushing yard share, which means he's not only efficient in his carries, but he has a vast majority on the team. And your next largest portions come from Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright. For Jaylen Warren, he gets about 56.4% of the rushing carry share and 58.5% of the rushing yard share. And the next largest portion that he shares with comes from Kenneth Gainwell. Next, we're going into the receiving game with Jalen Waddle and DK Metcalf, with Waddle averaging about 13.6 fantasy points per game, and Metcalf averaging about 12.6. Moving over to their seasonal averages, and once again with no turnovers, we'll go straight to the charts, where you have Waddle with about 26.1% of the target share and 34.8% of the receiving yard share, which does give him the largest portion of anybody else on the team. And then you have Metcalf at 23% of the target share and 28.4% of the receiving yard share, which is also the largest portion of anybody else on the team. Next, with your number 2 receivers, you have Malik Washington and Calvin Austin. Washington averaging 7 fantasy points per game, and Austin at about 6.3. You now have your season averages, and the only turnover between the two of them comes from Washington with 1 rushing fumble. And then with their share, you have Washington with 17% of the target share and 11.7% of the receiving yard share, and Calvin Austin at 12.1% of the target share and 11.6% of the receiving yard share. Lastly, you have your tight ends with Darren Waller and Darnell Washington, with Waller averaging about 9.2 fantasy points per game and Washington just under 6. Flip it over for your seasonal averages, and then with no turnovers, we'll go right into the charts again, where you have Waller with about 5.5% of the target share and about 7.6% of the receiving yard share, and Washington at 8.7% of the target share and 10.9% of the receiving yard share. So that wraps up all our data for Monday Night Football. I think your last takeaways are maybe watch some of these holes here. So this rushing rank of 7 against this rushing rank of 24 might help Miami significantly. However, they have a pretty bad scoring rank, but they are going against a pretty bad allowed scoring rank as well. And these scoring rank against this allowed scoring rank is also fairly even. And the biggest place that Pittsburgh could take advantage of Miami is with this rushing rank, even though it's only 28 here and 30 here for Miami, meaning that it's all pretty bad. So in the end, I think the numbers tend to lean a little bit more towards Miami, just because of mainly this rushing rank against this pretty bad defense overall. And there's not much in the way of here that's offense that's significant that can really take advantage of Miami. You might have your tight end rank here, but unless they lean on a tight end the whole game, which typically they don't, that won't make as big of an impact as, say, as much as the rushing game here. So that's where I would lean, but I guess we'll have to see how it turns out. And with that, I hope you got something useful out of it, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on what else you'd want to see in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for week 16.